Sophie, good evening to you and welcome. I think just share with us some of the highlights of those submissions, with special consideration for the reality that there's conflict between the different positions individual member states have. Iran, for example, and its support for Hezbollah, and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's support for Israel through the BJP and the Indian National Congress.
Well, I think there was an effort to ensure that you don't have a situation where any country in the group has reservations. As you heard the president of Iran, they're saying we have reached consensus. And when you look at the issues that were tabled by the chair, President Ramaphosa, no one could have questioned the text because it was clear. It did condemn what transpired on the 7th of October. It did speak to the issues related to hostages, and then it did emphasize the issues related to the right of Palestinians for them to achieve their own freedom. It did speak to issues related to two-state solution. It spoke about humanitarian crisis. It called for cessation of hostilities, and I think there was no way any of these countries could have taken a different view. But we know that the Prime Minister of India didn't participate. It was the Foreign Affairs Minister. Later we'll bring you the report from India, our correspondent, explaining why Prime Minister Modi couldn't join. It's because of the local government elections and campaigns in that country. But I think the text was very fair and balanced, and that is why you couldn't see any deviation in terms of all leaders, because at the end, the president, as the chair, did ask leaders to make inputs where they think there must be changes. And we will bring you a comprehensive report in terms of what different leaders said. And I think he did manage to ensure that the ground was laid to ensure that there's no deviation or perhaps others raising concerns around the text.
Well, one of the most potent questions is what next? What happens given the consensus that was reached by the BRICS plus 6 members? What material impact is it going to have, both on the delivery of those demands and an impact on Israel's resolute position at this stage of the game?
We know that as leaders of BRICS were discussing this issue, there were talks facilitated by Qatar to ensure that the cessation of hostilities, that truce for 5 days, and also the release of hostages. There are reports, but unconfirmed reports. But we know that from Hamas side, they have confirmed that they agree with what's on the table. Now they are waiting for Israel to communicate with Qatar their position. And we expect perhaps tonight a breakthrough in terms of releasing the hostages and also an agreement around that truce for 5 days. And the Secretary General participated in this session of the BRICS meeting. Earlier yesterday, he spoke about way forward in terms of what needs to happen in Palestine. He says the Palestinian Authority must take over, but you have to give security to Palestine. And therefore you need a force, an intervention force perhaps of the United Nations. There you have to bring other countries to contribute to that force so that you can give Palestine security. On the other hand, the security of Israel is already secured because of the support of America. That's what the Secretary General said, as you work towards the reconstruction. And therefore, I think people are already talking about or preparing for cessation of hostility and where to from here. And you had the BRICS countries also agreeing that they should work on assisting in that process, and they will be part of it. You know, most of them, some of them, like United Arab Emirates, your Saudi Arabia, your Iran, part of the Middle East and the Gulf region and the Arab League. And therefore, you have a situation where you have powerful nations within the Middle East being part of BRICS, and you have powerful countries such as Russia and China. You have Brazil, India, South Africa. So now you have a balancing act.